But it is already 6 o'clock, and I open now our colloquium, and I'm happy to present you Andrew Balas. He is a professor of public health at Augusta University, president of the Friends of the National Library of Medicine, vice-dean of the European Academy of Science and Arts. He leads the Biomedical Research Innovation Laboratory, known for influential science of science studies on delays in translating research into healthcare, work widely cited by policy makers and even the US president. He served as dean at 3 research universities over 14 years. Andrew Balas has over 120 scientific publications, more than 10 million in external research funding, multiple grants, and over 12,000 citations. Quotation. He holds degrees in medicine, medical informatics, and applied mathematics. A Hungarian American, he has deep roots also in Transylvania. Andrew, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. And yes, as you mentioned, I was born in Hungary, but actually my family comes from Transylvania. So anyone who is familiar with that area, they welcome each other with servus or sometimes bună ziua, whichever works for people. There are so many people living there and wonderful culture. I live in the US, and actually in the US there is a great celebration that was yesterday. It's called Thanksgiving, which is a time to express appreciation for the good things that people do. So let me also join that and express appreciation for the great work of the European Academy of Sciences and Arts, for the tremendous leadership of Violeta and Dusan in leading this wonderful seminar series. It's really an excellent opportunity. And all of you who are joining this discussion about evidence and impact in science, which I believe is very important, affects just about everyone who is working in science. And if possible, I will share my screen. And my question is, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
And can you see my slides?
Yes.
Yes? I have not heard that.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, very good. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. So the today's discussion topic here is understanding and increasing the impact of research. And I try to build on the expertise and track record of our laboratory. And I will introduce that very briefly, but let me kind of recap or forecast what we will discuss today. A little introduction of what we have done in this field and how we are coming to the various conclusions that I'm going to present here. Then a little indication, a brief kind of inventory of some of the failings of modern research and why we are urged to act, to do things differently. And then there are 2 key concepts that will be discussed. One is scientific evidence, and the second one is the impact of research. And in our case, it will be with a great focus on biomedical research because that's the area that we are studying mostly. And obviously, that's a huge area of research, life sciences in general. And then I would like to make some practical conclusions, which I hope you will find useful. So let's talk about what we do and how we come to various conclusions. And the goal of our laboratory is to better understand the driving factors of quality research and scientific discoveries. And there are about 1 million new articles added just to the National Library of Medicine collection. And there is something to be studied. Not all articles have the same value. Some of them are useful, and a large number of them are actually completely useless or not reproducible or uninformative. But we can do better. And when we do these studies, we would like to support research laboratories in multiplying trustworthy discoveries for society's use and benefit. Our kind of channels of communication, or the way we try to influence things, scientific publications from problem solving, largely data driven research. We just analyzed hundreds of research institutions, universities, about 100,000 principal investigator data, and all Nobel laureates in the 21st century in physiology and medicine. And we catalog research defects, research achievements, and then we try to launch a couple of national initiatives, and I may mention them in this discussion. So our goals are ambitious, but I always tell people I run better than the government. I ran my marathon, my 21st marathon in October. And people say that that's not a big achievement that you run better than the government, because the US government was shut down for 6 weeks. So maybe I should not brag about that, because it's easier. Now, let's be more serious about research and what research does occasionally. And one of them is, unfortunately, the research in very often when you read abstracts, read messages from scientific publications, they really deliver banalities. Okay, the study of these mechanisms is important to lead to a new era of treatment and complex knowledge about this highly complex disease. Okay, I mean, give me an area of life sciences where this type of conclusion could not be reached without any studies, right? So this is a banality. And then the next one, further research is needed. By the way, a large part of conclusions in scientific abstracts is that there is more research needed in the field. I mean, people are paying for the research, and then the only thing they learn is that they need to pay more because there is a need for more research. We need more meaningful messages from scientific publications, and I hope you agree that we need to do better. Here's another example, and actually I can tell you that disclose that the left side of this slide shows my case and my data, and I had a little kind of elevation of some lipids in my blood, and so I looked at the American Heart Association guidelines, because one of the physicians recommended that I should start taking statins. Okay, and I'm sure that you know about statins. Maybe some of you are even taking it, and it can be for good reason. But in my case, what I found is that with the current test results, my cardiovascular disease risk would be 18%, arteriosclerotic cardiovascular disease 12.7, heart failure 9.9. Now, if I would take statins, then there would be a 0.2% difference in cardiovascular disease, 1.7% difference in the risk of arteriosclerotic, and 0.0 difference in heart failure. So my question is, should I take statins if the difference is so absolutely minuscule? And you should also know that if somebody takes statins, there is a risk of diabetes associated with, which is about 1%. So this type of reduction is probably not good enough for practical application. So I decided better not to take the pill. Stay away from the pill, because it will not help. Diet change is a better option. And this was actually several months ago, and I think I made the right decision, because there is a diet really generated good results already, diet change. Now, the other one is the walking at dementia. You see that the huge study that is celebrated by many, and actually we are talking about less than 1% difference in the risk of dementia. It's about walking and 10,000 steps daily and walking. So sometimes we celebrate minutiae in research, and I think that we should not do that, because that really doesn't help. It's all right that not everything can be successful, but we should be judicious in terms of what we really recommend for people to do based on evidence. Now, here's another thing. So if I would ask people that, do you believe in evidence-based healthcare, evidence-based medicine? I'm quite confident 100% of you, everyone would say, oh, yeah, of course, of course. Nobody wants evidence without evidence. But when we would ask the question, so what is evidence? Then, well, there is a huge variation. And in various guidelines, you can see there are various definitions of evidence. So there is really no good consensus on what is evidence. There is a pyramid that I will show you that indicates some trends, but when it comes to guidelines, clinical practice guidelines, then the evidence rating is not very clear, quite confusing, and actually the definitions themselves are non-reproducible. So it is a very serious problem, and I think that we need to address. It's somewhat philosophical, but we have to deal with that because otherwise we don't know what is evidence. And how could you advocate for evidence-based healthcare if you don't know what is evidence? But we need to simplify, obviously. Everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler, according to Albert Einstein, and that's a good advice. But here's a but simpler, a little oversimplification, and that is the classic evidence rating pyramid in life sciences, in biomedical research. On the bottom is the expert opinion, then case reports, case control studies, and then randomized controlled clinical trials are close to the top, and then the systematic reviews and meta-analysis of those trials are even more, even higher. But the reality is that a few adversarial case reports can actually invalidate a clinical trial. I mean, look at the thalidomide that was tested in clinical trials, and then a couple of case reports came out and showed the tremendous deformities and of babies, and those killed the drug. So the clinical trial may be a higher evidence, but if the clinical trial doesn't detect certain things and the case studies do, then they can invalidate the higher level evidence. Here is just a list of a couple of drugs that were tested in clinical trials. Thalidomide, Vioxx, very famous case, pain reliever with fewer gastrointestinal effect, Paladon, and so on, and even the Durham hip implant. Okay, these were all tested, and they had to be retracted. They had to be stopped and canceled after several years, after exposing many patients to those treatments, because cases emerged where it turned out that they were actually not helpful. Instead, they were actually leading to very serious negative and side effects. The why was a failure column shows you some of the highly negative consequences of these drugs and treatments. So here's the evidence rating that we developed. And I have to tell you that I have been using it on my own as well. So let's just test. When you test it on yourself. Does it work? And I have to tell you, it works quite well. Okay, especially obviously when there is a simple decision. Should you take aspirin when you have fever or whatever? That's not a big decision. Okay, but when you have a surgery, an abdominal surgery, or you have a major diagnosis that has a number of options, you need to get serious about finding the evidence and making an evidence-based decision about your health and healthcare choices. Okay? And the way to do that is this hexagonal due diligence. Due diligence is in industry, people when have to they try to buy something, and you need to study it. You have to explore everything. That's called due diligence. So when you are dealing with your own health, you should look at due diligence appropriately. So the first step is always to go to a specialist and get options from that specialist. And then to go to the literature. If you don't go to the literature when you have a serious question, you are making a significant mistake, and people can get into trouble. Even good colleagues, very accomplished. We have a friend who is a radiologist, had a brain tumor, a benign brain tumor, but in the brain everything is not that benign, and it was surgery. And then she said that she did not realize that there is a radiation treatment that needs to be done right after the surgery. She just relied on a colleague's advice, and later she read that it should have been done right after the surgery, and it has not been done. So even people who are specialists in the field and deal with a disease that overlaps with their specialty, they make sometimes the mistake of not going to the literature. So people should go to the literature, look for synergistic recommendations, preferably from large sample, high quality studies, corroborating recommendations from another independent study, and absence of quality studies that are adversarial to the recommended option. So, and on the right side, you see some simple evidence article filtering methods that can lead you to meaningful articles, because when you do these searches, you get a very large number. But when you are equipped by all this information, then you go for an independent second opinion by a second specialist. And then when you get that, then it's very advisable to discuss it with your primary care doctor, and then come to a conclusion that will be well informed. It will have what is in the literature, it will have what the specialists see, and it will have the generalist assessment of the overall value for you. So I think that this type of hexagonal evidence filtering, evidence collection, might serve people better in their day-to-day decisions. We just need to find ways to make it as simple as possible for people to follow these suggestions. Now let's talk about impact. And I always show this, that there are some great European examples of how major scientists with landmark discoveries, major theoretical discoveries, actually found ways to turn their skills, their knowledge to the benefit of people around them, even on the short run, immediately finding ways to apply. Robert Koch, the discoverer of the Koch postulates, the principles, how infections are discovered, and the tuberculosis, cholera, anthrax, and Nobel laureate. But he went to the Adriatic island, to Brioni, and eradicated malaria. Okay, so his theoretical knowledge was not only published in incomprehensible scientific papers, but it was also applied very, very successfully. Louis Pasteur, the same. Development of vaccines, rabies, germ theory of disease, brand new things in those days. And he visited wineries and developed the pasteurization, which we still use. But I'm sure that many wineries were very grateful for that. So this should really inspire us to look for better ways to impact the reality, impact practice, impact people and society. So that's why we are suggesting the wide-ranging and verified effect, or WAVE model, of biomedical research impact. And that impact has three major characteristics. One is measurable beneficial impact on health, wellness, fitness, biological outcomes, social functioning, clinical effectiveness, research productivity in diverse locations. So that's one, that the brain and the experiment, the study of the scientist affects a large number of people. And then when it does, then it has many identifiable beneficiaries, typically more than 100, thousands, hundreds of thousands, sometimes even millions. There are communities that are unrelated to the source of research. So they are not done as part of the research project, but they just benefit from the results. And then we need something that is reported by independent spotters. So people who observed, measured, witnessed the benefit, not the researchers itself. Okay? And I think that that's a big difference between our current perception of research, when we think that the research productivity is measured by the number of publications. Okay, that's not a good measure. That's not the impact of the research. It's just a channel towards impact, but not the impact itself. I was at a meeting, at dinner, a number of years ago, and an NIH director, not a director, kind of mid-level manager from research leader from NIH, at a presentation and talked about the development of some new compounds. And he said that at some point in our research, we realized that only drug companies make drugs. I thought, what kind of big discovery is that? Of course, yes. And we need to collaborate, because nobody buys drugs from universities. Nobody buy drugs from researchers themselves. You need to work with drug companies. So I think that this is a profound observation, even if it's very trivial and obvious to all of us, that the research needs partners to reach actual people and to make a difference in other people's lives, which should be always the purpose of good research. So here just some of the traditional measures. Sometimes people say that the number of publications. Sometimes people say that the citations of a publication. But let me show a couple of examples how much citations are actually misleading. So, for example, Watson and Crick discovered the double helix of DNA. That was cited 20,000 times. Okay. Then there was another study a year or two earlier, a widely used protein measurement, and that was cited 236,000 times, because it's an actual methodology. So it was a beneficial thing to invent, but certainly the landmark achievement was the discovery of the DNA. But here is another more contemporary example. Katalin Karikó, who 2 years ago got the Nobel Prize for the mRNA vaccine, in her landmark publication, that she got the Nobel Prize for that and all the related work, and got 3,000 citations. I mean, I have to tell you, I have an article that has more citations than this one, but it doesn't mean that it's better than Katalin Karikó's research. So Katalin Karikó really made a huge difference, and the citation number is actually not measured of the excellence. Now, here's another example from a different area. Brin and Page in 1998 published an article on web searches, and they developed a method. They tried to sell it to Yahoo, and then which was a very big internet search engine at those days, and they kicked them out. They said that we don't need this; it's useless, and it has no value. And they said okay, and then they started a company that is called Google, and now it's called Alphabet, which is a little bigger than Yahoo, and Yahoo is barely surviving, while Google is thriving, and it has 98,000 employees, more than 98,000 employees. So we can see that citation itself, it's a little sign, but it's not really a very useful or powerful sign of the impact of research. And here's just relying on the publication number. There Peter Higgs, the Higgs boson discoverer, who got the Nobel Prize in Physics, he published 32 articles in his entire lifetime. Okay, 32. And he said that today I would not get an academic job, as simple as that. I don't think that I would be regarded as productive enough. And my understanding, there is the story about him that his department chair circulated every year a letter to faculty members that please report the number of publications that you published this year. And then he just responded, none. And then the next year he responded none again. Okay, but the others all reported publications, but it happens that he got the Nobel Prize and the others did not. So you can see that the number of publications is really not a good measure of impact. So a couple of recommendations that I would like to make in conclusion of these points. And after that, of course, I will be ready for your questions. So the first one is we definitely need to come to a consensus on what evidence is and demand it from guideline developers, but also from artificial intelligence. I have to tell you that artificial intelligence, it doesn't matter how appealing and beautiful a name is attached to this technology, it doesn't know what evidence is. And the evidence definitions that come from artificial intelligence are horrible, and they are really not practically useful. Then I would also add that everyone who cares about his or her health should seek evidence from multiple independent sources before major decisions. Okay? That is absolutely essential. And this hexagonal approach, due diligence approach might help to get to firmer, better evidence, more understanding of what can be done than just letting it out without just relying on the opinion of a single practitioner, which I always find very, very dangerous and counterproductive. Success of both curiosity-driven, sometimes called basic research, and also applied research requires focus on problem solving. So that's the interesting thing. We are very obsessed with the separation of basic and applied sciences, but in reality, they are not as different from each other. And the success in both categories depends on the ability to focus on problem solving with a long-term commitment. And finally, I think that this is probably an important conclusion for all of us, is that resumes, CVs of researchers should have a separate impact section where they describe what problems were solved and how they impacted others by their research. And most researchers can list something, but if the focus and the attention would be more, I think we could have better research that is more responsive to the needs of society. And with that note, thank you very much for your attention, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Andrew, very much. The question and the comments will come at the very end. I would like to tell you that very many people couldn't come. I don't know what happened from the point of view of the link. I'm very happy we have here Ioannis Liritzis, Vice President, and our Klaus Mainzer, that always is with us. I'm very happy they will speak after.
Yeah.
Now I have the big pleasure Klaus, so happy you are also here. But I will continue with David. David Bartosch was also the student in Oldenburg, so it's for me, he's very far away now in China, but for me, it's very close in my memories. David Bartosch is an internationally recognized scholar of Chinese, German, and other philosophical traditions. His work centers on transcultural comparative philosophy, which he applies across a wide range of transdisciplinary contexts and thematic fields, including historical, systematic, future-oriented perspectives. Bartosch holds a research professorship as Distinguished Research Fellow at the Institute of Advanced Studies in Humanities and Social Sciences on the Southern campus of the renowned Beijing Normal University in Zhuhai, located in the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area. He's also currently a visiting researcher at the Research Institute for Sustainability at the Helmholtz Center for Geosciences in Potsdam. David, please, you have...
Dear Violeta, I have joined the meeting, but you didn't see me. I wanted to please to have to say hello to everybody and to speak a few words about both speakers, and then I was prepared to present Andrew.
I don't know. Okay, let's go.
Okay, thank you, because I had made an effort to be with you, and especially to have the privilege to introduce Andrew. First of all, I'm very pleased that the initial idea we had, both of us, Violeta, about arts meet science and science meet arts continues with success. And I hope in the next term, 5 years, also will be in a higher level and higher standards. I was very pleased to see both speakers whom I know quite well. First of all, about Andrew, that brings arts and science together and certainly enhances the impact of research by making complex ideas more accessible, engaging, and memorable, I think. And the artistic expression helps translate scientific findings into forms that inspire understanding, spark curiosity, and reach wider audiences. In this way, the meeting of arts and science strengthens the visibility and societal influence of research. Andrew focus on understanding and increasing. I missed the half of it, but I can say a few words before I introduce him. And increasing the research impact aligns naturally with art meets science, in my opinion, and the arts amplify scientific messages. This turns data into meaning and insight that the public can grasp. By combining scientific rigor and the artistic communication, research gains broader visibility, emotional resonance, and real societal influence, exactly the kind of enhanced impact that his work advocates. From Peter Higgs' case, actually, that I got this point, the impact of research certainly is not quantity, but mainly quality, or both. Regarding Bartosch's theme, which shows that how Hesse and Novalis remind us that true knowing unites artistic insight with scientific understanding. Also, in an AI-driven world where information becomes increasingly technical and rapid, their vision emphasizes the need for imagination, intuition, and the inner creativity that art can provide. At the same time, science offers structure, method, and clarity. So together with art and science, forms a complementary way of knowing that keeps human meaning at the center of technological progress. And this balance becomes certainly essential for shaping a future in which AI enhances rather than replaces the richness of human thought. Now, regarding my good friend Andrew Balas, he's a professor of Augusta University, probably you had said already, but I would like to say a few words more, where he contributes to the graduate school, the Institute of Public and Preventive Health and Health Management, Economics and Policy Programs. He directs the Biomedical Research Innovation Laboratory, studying how high impact biomedical research is produced and how innovation, reproducibility, and organizational practices shape scientific success. He holds degrees in medicine, medical informatics, and applied mathematics, interdisciplinary. Andrew has authored over 120 peer-reviewed publications, book chapters of over 13,000 citations, spanning from health informatics, translation medicine, and research policy. Also, his book, Innovative Research in Life Sciences, Pathways to Scientific Impact, Public Health Improvement and Economic Progress of last year, examining the pathways that enable exceptional scientific discoveries. His work widely is cited by policymakers and even the US president. He has held leadership positions, including Dean of the College of Allied Health Sciences, and has served in the US Senate Public Health Policy Advisory roles, linking science, practice, and governance. His work focuses on maximizing the impact of research and translating scientific innovation into societal benefit. Andrew is a Hungarian American. He has deep roots in Transylvania. He is an active member of EASA, Vice Dean of Class II Medicine, and great contributor to our EASA journal and other policy works. I'm very privileged to introduce Andrew. Andrew, thank you very much for your talk. And now I give the podium to David through Violeta. Please, Violeta, you can introduce David.
But I introduced already David. Please, David, do you
Yes,
hear us?
of course. I have to.
David is in the middle of China.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's already a little late here, so it's
It's a bit late.
1:37. So in case I fall asleep, you can wake me up, please. So I have to share my screen first. Okay. And now I have to. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah,
Can you see my presentation?
Yes,
Okay.
that's
we
fine.
can see it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, so I'm very honored and very, very delighted to be in this illustrious circle of great scholars and friends and to be able to present here. And as you can see, my topic, the title of my topic might look a little bit unusual at first because it brings together two names with a topic that might not be completely self-explanatory, which might not be totally self-explanatory in this context at first sight. So I will be talking about Novalis, Hesse, and the future of knowing in an AI world. And let me first give you some kind of basic starting point why I'm talking about this topic and how this might be related. So first of all, my background is philosophy, in particular transcultural philosophy. So I do research on Western traditions, Neoplatonism, but also on Chinese traditions. And over the last few years, I also increasingly have expanded my work into the realm of transdisciplinary studies. So also I got in touch with science, natural science, and also have done work in intercultural relations. Also touched a little bit into the direction or found touch points with archaeology and philosophy and so forth. And somehow also, of course, the topic of AI becomes increasingly important in all of these transdisciplinary contexts, because what we witness here is first of all a certain transition. To start with, a transition of new media in that context. So it is not just that younger people stop reading lengthy books and that one focuses on large volumes and fixed texts and is approaching more of this fluid, more situational way of tapping into knowledge sources and various knowledge regimes and traditions of the world. But also the media themselves are changing. And last year there was this quite interesting invention was presented by a young student from MIT's Media Lab. And he, Arnav Kapoor, he invented a device where he can think. So he just thinks a word, and then the word is transmitted to the computer, to Google, and he then obtains an answer through the internet, and the answer is directed via vibrations in his skull, so he can hear the answer in his head, right? So he thinks. He poses a question. He's just thinking a question, not articulating it, and he gets an answer back from the internet in his mind. And on this occasion, you can check there's a video about him in on YouTube, and the anchor is commenting. You could be an expert in any subject. You have the entire internet in your head. And Kapoor answers, yeah, that's the idea, basically. And I think this is quite remarkable. And I have started to reflect on that topic. It's one of my research areas. It's not my main research areas. I have unearthed this topic also for this presentation again, and I also hope that it's understood as an invitation for discussion afterwards. I have published one paper in the special edition that was published by the journal Heranka, and it was editioned by Johannes Lirizis last year. And the basic topic was how do we deal with cultural memories? How can we create or how can we keep cultural memories alive in the age of AI? How can we deal with this growing knowledge, with this accumulation of archaeological data, of texts, of traditions, translation? How can we make use of it? How can we know it? Yeah, not just store it, but deal with it, play with it, make it a form of our future global pluralistic culture. And in this context, I just stumbled in the research context. I stumbled on, so to speak, on Hermann Hesse and his famous last novel Class Beat Game. And also then by digging a little deeper, I also found that Hermann Hesse was deeply influenced by Novalis, by Georg Wilhelm Friedrich von Hardenberg, a very famous poet, but also a famous philosopher of the early Romanticist era in Germany. And my thesis is that actually, when we are looking for a starting point, how to approach this new age of AI, there is a lot of inspiration to be drawn from Novalis and Hermann Hesse. We are at a turning point where we have to find a new kind of orientation to develop new forms of knowing and dealing with knowing. We are approaching a new horizon that shifts from what has been called classical science to what the philosopher Gotthard Günther has called transclassical science. So where we will have to make, and where we more connections and also more transdisciplinary reflections, where we have to connect the arts, the sciences, humanities in various new ways. And I think that Novalis, surprisingly, is a very interesting starting point here. He is the greatest poet of the early Romanticist era, of course. He developed his own unique form of an idealist philosophy influenced by Plato, Plotinus, Kant, Fichte, and Schelling. And what's more important here also to know, he had studied and worked in several scientific fields. So he was not just a poet, as many people usually assume, but he was also one of the first, we could say, transdisciplinary scientists of his era. So he had studied law, he had studied mining science, he worked in mining, had studied chemistry, geology, mineralogy. He was also approaching the horizon of contemporary mathematics. And he, in a very unique way, he was on the way to find a philosophical foundation to blend these fields together in a meaningful way as one person, and in the sense of a unique contemporary observer path, as one might call it, from a systems theoretical perspective. The name Novalis is very interesting. It could be translated as one who cultivates new land. He also, most people don't know that, also he himself put the emphasis on the first syllable of the name. So he called himself actually Novalis. Usually we say Novalis, but he called himself Novalis to put even more emphasis on this element. As you can see, when you look at the live data in the presentation and the heading, unfortunately he died very young. He only got 28 years old, but his achievement is quite amazing and mind-boggling. And I think that he has provided some basic foundations that haven't even yet been understood, and also the importance of which has not been understood with regard to our present time. So what he had in mind originally could best be defined maybe as a new form of holographic integration of cosmology, epistemology, aesthetics, all sciences, and cultural practices. He put very much emphasis on the connection of different fields. He developed a new approach to what might best be called a comprehensive knowledge association, which he calls encyclopedism. Also, his circle used the circle around him. They also used the word symphilosophieren, philosophizing. So they used this Greek prefix sym and added it to philosophizing, like in symphony or symposium. So associating knowledge and getting new insight by way of associative also play of ideas. So, but actually, his approach is also more of a free play of ideas, and in the sense of an association of different fields of science, in the sense in which Novalis writes that poetry is based on active association of ideas on an autopoetic, selbsttätiger, intentional, idealistic production of coincidence, idealistic production of coincidence. So what he has in mind is a system where a system which enables us to find new combinations, new forms of ways of seeing things, new perspectives. And in this context, he had developed his own private diary, one could say. It is available in the form of Das Allgemeine Brouillon. You can see here on the right side, there is an example of one page, and you can see he put notes there in a very aphoristic form about several disciplines, which he numbered. So one is about anthropology, the next one is, he calls the doctrine of seasons, the next one is about earth science, next one about compendia of science, the next doctrine of history, then mathematics, and they are numbered. And his idea is that actually these fragments or these aphorisms and ideas have to be understood as a certain kind of a seed of knowledge, a certain kind of perspective of meaning, which can be combined with other perspectives and other topics, also by way of these numbers, in a way to obtain new ideas. So to produce, in a sense, as I said before, a kind of a meaningful coincidence, which then leads to new trains of thought and new ways of thinking and new observer pathways in regard to knowledge unfolding, knowledge emergence. The background for this idea, or the philosophical background for this understanding, is that he sees the universe as a certain kind of infinite network of space-time independent relationships of all things with all other things. So it can be compared, maybe you have heard about this Buddhist metaphor of Indra's net, where you have an infinite a network, a spider web, an infinite spider web with drops of water or dew on each node of the net, and they all mirror each other. So it's kind of a holistic a understanding of knowledge. And these fragments, these prospections of knowledge, they are actually just different expressions of the same core reality for him. So everything is a node and a fragment of one infinite self-emanating thing within and without. And he says that, quote, in our psyche, everything is a priori connected in the most unique, pleasing, and liveliest of ways. Aesthetic, rational, somatic, psychological, intellective, and intuitive aspects always occur in unique combinations in each node a posteriori and in the sense of meaningful coincidence, much like artistic ideas, scientific findings, and invention in general. Quote, and one can say that every thought, every manifestation of our mind and soul is the most individual part of a completely singular whole. End quote. Only the infinite whole of these nodes is real. Only that thing can be absolutely real that is not again a part. In a sense, the unbound whole is grounded in analogy to persons playing a game, who, without chairs, sit in a circle with their legs crisscrossed. This is a very interesting metaphor. There's the circle, it's a symbol of infinity, and it is also an enigma, so to speak, a philosophical enigma for the unity through difference. So there are individual perspectives, individual observer perspectives, individual players or observers, but they are actually connected. So they are sitting in a circle with their legs crisscrossed, and they are emerging the deep knowledge of the universe in their communication. Quote, are not God and nature also playing? Theory of playing, sacred games, pure game theory, common and more advanced applied game theory, end quote. These few spotlights on his ideas and understanding of a holistic or comprehensive science, comprehensive form of science, which integrates art, poetry, the various sciences of his day, and this philosophical background, this idealistic background leads me here to Hermann Hesse. Hermann Hesse, of course, we don't need to introduce Hermann Hesse. Violeta is very fond of him. We have also decades ago, we spoke a lot about Hermann Hesse as well, while I was still studying with her. And Hermann Hesse's last novel, famous novel, is Das Glasperlenspiel. It was published in 1943 in Switzerland. In English, the title is The Glass Bead Game, or Magister Ludi. It is one of the reasons why Hesse got the Nobel Prize, won the Nobel Prize. And it is actually a reflection of, or it is a literary interpretation, I would say, of Novalis' basic approach towards a future dealing with heritages, knowledge heritages, science, mathematics, aesthetic disciplines, and so forth. It is a utopian novel about the so-called magistri, or there's an R missing, by the way, magistri ludi, a monastic order of the masters of a holistic glass bead game, as it's called, which in a sense, in this utopian or future, then substituted sciences and arts and also these separate disciplines that we are used today. So this is representing Hesse's vision of the future of the sciences and the arts integrated as one. And it is inspired by Novalis' idea of the artist philosopher. Novalis talks about the artist philosopher as the highest manifestation of the knower, so to speak. Hesse's game, which is described in this book, represents infinite creativity, which he also describes as unfolding in partly fictional, imagined historical dimensions. The important idea behind this glass bead game is also this holographic idea about knowledge, heritages. So the idea that actually all human production of all ages and all places is in a long run forms one big network, one inseparable creative output that can also be elevated into this form of a meta system, a meta game, which includes this element of chance. And in the book, Das Glasperlenspiel, Hesse describes this game as follows, quote, "The rules of the glassbead game, the sign language and grammar of the game represent a kind of highly developed secret language in which several sciences and arts, but especially mathematics and music or musicology, participate and which is capable of expressing the contents and results of almost all sciences and relating them to each other. The glassbead game is therefore a game with all the contents and values of our culture. It plays with them just as a painter might have played with the colors of his palette in the heyday of the arts." End quote. What mankind has produced in terms of knowledge, high thoughts and works of art in its creative ages, what the subsequent periods of scholarly contemplation on concepts, all this immense material of spiritual values is played by the glassbead player as an organ is played by an organist. And this organ is of an almost unimaginable perfection. Its manuals and pedals scan the entire world of the mind. Its registers are almost innumerable. Theoretically, the entire spiritual content of the world could be reproduced by playing this instrument, end quote, from the glassbead game. This leads me to the next step in this presentation, namely the topic of artificial intelligence in relation to this idea of the glassbead game and also its background in the Romanticist vision of Novalis. So first of all, before we enter in that field, we have to clarify a little bit also the difference between the vision of Novalis from the end of the 18th century and Hesse. Hesse's future vision of the glassbead game is related to a technical device. That's the difference. So Novalis didn't have a technical device in mind here, just human interaction. And Hesse introduces the idea of human, I would say, AI interaction. I will also explain a little bit further in the next few slides why I think this can be identified as AI already. In Hesse's future world, that's another difference here, only an aristocracy of players has developed the universal game to such, quote, a high degree of flexibility and sublimation that it already gained something like an awareness of itself and its possibilities. And this went parallel with the general development of the cultural consciousness of the time, which had overcome the great crisis. So this is also from the glassbead game. So, and now I'm taking the next step, and the next person that I want to introduce in this train of thought is the infamous counterculture figure Timothy Leary. And Timothy Leary published an article in 1986. And in this article, he writes that in 1986, he writes that Hesse actually has anticipated the idea of human AI interaction and emphasizes that Leary emphasizes that the AI systems of the future will offer the possibility of an entirely new mode of thinking, as new thought technology creates new ideas. Leary in 1986. Leary emphasizes that Hesse depicted a future golden age of mind that is, quote, based on a tangible mental device, a thought machine, adding, please, quote, please do not be freaked. Oh, that's a typo, I think. Please do not be freaked out by the a toy-like simplicity of this device. Hesse has changed the units of meaning, the vocabulary of thought. This is serious, serious stuff. Once you have defined the units of thought in terms of mathematical symbolism representing all possible elements of all human scientific and artistic productivity, past and present, you've introduced a major mutation in the intelligence of your culture. So, and in this, against this background, we can now ask ourselves, what is the takeaway from Novalis, Hesse, and Leary in view of today's AI and cultural heritages and the dialectics of their practical loss and universal virtue availability? I think that in my view, the future development of human and artificial intelligence is reciprocal. And in this context, we also have to learn to see the difference and the connection of human and non-human natural and AI intelligence. Raising an important point is raising human intelligence and raising human knowledge into a new forms and new ways of creative imagination in the sense of Novalis' artist philosopher or Hesse's Magister Ludi is necessary for this so-called AI advancement as well. In correlation to AI, human intelligence has to be raised on the basis of its own conditions. And I think this is a very important point, and we are approaching a horizon where we have to also become clear and make very quick decisions in this direction. I think we should approach a form of what I call superhumanism instead of the current direction of a transhumanist neo-Gnostic fallacy, as I call it. And I think that the transference of the cultural practices of the past and present on a meta level of something like the glass bead game 2.0, as one might call it, would actually indeed be a road that is promising, I think. Human intelligence has to be raised exponentially by a new mode of creative thinking that includes game-like structures, that includes the element of chance in human-human and in human-AI interaction. It's important to understand that such a glass bead game 2.0 could not be a mere computer game, so to speak, and it could also it should not be restricted to thought culture, but it should be the foundation of learning for a new holistic culture, which includes the elements of coincidence, in a sense, divination, rolling dice, freedom, and open developments of structures, including the integration of human body movements and new symbolic gestures, separate human practice and AI dominions, but also humans AI interaction. And this is basically it. And I have presented this also in a sense of an invitation for further discussion. It's a really new field that we are approaching, and I'm very thankful also for the introduction, because I have also I feel that Professor Liritsis is also in a very similar approaching very similar ideas, and I think from the side of philosophy that this element that can first be traced in the thought of Novalis, and then has been developed in this literary form by Hesse, is a very promising approach to connect this current problem, how to integrate the sciences, also the use of AI and the expansion that comes with it and back into the domain of knowing, of understanding, of integrating all of these data, right? The important thing is that science and arts and philosophy would not make sense if they are kind of outsourced to this mechanical projection, to the technical projection to the machine. But the important thing is the communication and how to expand and develop new forms and new ways of interacting with these completely new media, the media that speak to us, so to speak, on their own account, with this element of chance, unpredictability, situativeness, and sometimes also very unique new opportunities, I would say. So AI is not just a dangerous thing. It's not just a negative thing, but I think it has so many benefits. But the important thing is that we understand that AI itself is not dangerous. I think humans are probably the most dangerous elements in that game. And I think the way we raise and emerge and erect this new culture in dealing with AI is one of the eminent questions that we have to solve quickly. And this is thought of as an invitation. And as I said in the beginning, if you would like to read about this topic, you can also read my article. There's
Thank you, David. Thank you very much. Thank you. I would like now to invite Klaus Mainzer. Normally he is always opening with a greeting, and I invite you first, and then we have many discussions possibilities. Thank you very much, David. Klaus?
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Thank you, Violeta. We all had some problems, I think, in the beginning with a special link. And so I changed the link and then I did it. Now it is amazing for me personally that I was today in our ministry in Berlin on a meeting on very modern AI. And now in the evening, we are considering these different kind of application. So my comment will be connected with questions. First to Andrew concerning the role of AI in peer-reviewed articles. You remember perhaps that we published some months ago, no, it was in 2023, we published here an article with Nature, a group of our academy, and living guidelines for ChatGPT. And in this guidelines, we also considered the application to the evaluation of peer-reviewed articles now with ChatGPT. I want to hear your comment. Did you have any ideas or suggestions concerning guidelines of this kind of application? Now, and the second talk, it's amazing because it is in my German heart. You know, that is a great tradition, of course, with Novalis and with Hesse, Hermann Hesse, and the idea of the glass bead game that was in the first part of the 20th century. And in that century, the so-called formalistic mathematics came up with a great influence also in culture. It is connected in mathematics with names such as David Hilbert and Kurt Gödel and things like that. So my concrete question to you would be, are Hermann Hesse aware of these immense important development in formal logic in the first part of the 20th century? And concerning Novalis, I saw now in your quotations the original quotations, and the formulation is amazing. It is a kind of anticipation of what happens some years later with the so-called Boolean algebra. Perhaps you know that is the idea. Algebra, not only application to numbers, but in general, so to say, sorts of thinking. George Boole called it in that one. And that has a great tradition in the German history of philosophy. It goes back to the great polymath philosopher and mathematician Leibniz. You know, Leibniz was the first in the beginning of modern times. You had the idea of a mathesis universalis. That means a kind of universal formal language. And that inspired a lot of people, even in literature and arts, for example, Novalis. And it goes up to modern times in the 20th century. These people were all aware of this Leibniz tradition. So my concrete question to you was Hesse, Hermann Hesse, aware of these ideas of formalistic mathematics? That means beat game with formulas instead of pearls. Was he aware of this cultural and scientific background in his time? Thank you.
Thank you, Klaus. Should I start perhaps? Thank you for the excellent question. So the artificial intelligence and the scientific journals. Actually, just about months ago, in the Friends of the National Library of Medicine, you can do the web search FNLM on the web. We had a webinar on this very same issue. And this was an hour and a half long, and the editor of New England Journal of Medicine, JAMA, talked there. I was also one of the speakers, and then the former editor of JAMA was actually the organizer of this. But basically, just to kind of give a simple summary of that authorship of artificial intelligence is totally unacceptable. It's non-existent and should be rejected. Many authors, there was an Elsevier survey, showed that 43% of researchers use AI for drafting manuscripts, but only about 3 or 5% disclose that when they submit the paper, according to several journal publishers. So we have to be very mindful. In reality, everybody is using AI, because if you do a Google search, you get an AI-generated response on the top of your search already. So it is becoming a very interesting thing. The big dangers, that are twofold. One, AI makes up facts that do not exist. It's called hallucination. It still happens. Sometimes it generates references that look like real articles, real authors, real titles, real journals, and it's all fake when you check it. So this is a big problem. The second is that there is no trustworthy method of recognizing what is generated by AI, because the AI generated text can be so similar to the human generated. So it is there are humanizing programs that can be run on the top of AI generated text to make it even more human-like. So we are facing a tremendous opportunity, but also challenge. And you know more about that than anybody else in this world, because you have been researching this field. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you also very much for the amazing question. So to make it short, I'm sure that Hesse was aware of the historical developments at the time, and he was definitely influenced by it, but he was not a mathematician himself. So I assume that he reflected and absorbed these developments in a rather intuitive way from afar as a layman, so to speak, and then also implemented the ideas and the general trajectory of these developments into the envisioned historical development of the class beat game that he describes in the book itself. And he starts with Nicholas de Cusa in the book. He says Nicholas Cusanus is one of the forefathers in mathematics of the class beat game, and then there are these other great mathematicians, Leibniz and so forth. And then this class beat game then was in the future, so to speak, the future vision of this historical development. The class beat game then in fact was first developed by mathematicians, so by professional mathematicians. They started it, and then more and more sciences and forms of art were gradually included into that meta game, this culture more and more elements were absorbed into that mathematical system, or this system that actually is based on mathematical symbolism. And in this context, maybe if we think about Enlightenment mathematicians, one name that could be mentioned, but it's not mentioned, I think, by Hesse, but one that came to mind with the question was Johann Heinrich Lambert, a very famous early contemporary of Kant, who also wrote letters with, they had exchanged 5 or 6 letters, I think. And Lambert published a philosophy book called The New Organon, and in The New Organon, he also introduces the idea of intersemiotic translation. That means to use mathematical symbolism and to transfer that symbolism to other fields and vice versa, transfer different semiotic, as I would say, content to particular semiotic content to other fields and arts, and to create a network of what one might call intersemiotic translation. I don't know if Novalis was aware of Lambert, maybe, or if Hesse was aware of Lambert, but Lambert would be indeed one of the first mathematicians. He's a great mathematician of his time. People still use his formulas in biology and in physics and astronomy and so forth.
Thank you, David.
Just to finish this sentence, I think this is a very important question. Can we use mathematical symbolism to express concepts in other fields, philosophical concepts, concepts in biology? Can we use mathematical symbolism to communicate these concepts, these contents directly? That's a big question. I don't know.
We have to ask mathematicians. Thank you so much, David. We have now Ioannis, and then Bostian, and then Martin, and then Athanasia, who also wrote me before. She would like to comment for Andrew. Please, Ioannis. We do not hear you. Unmute. Unmute yourself, Ioannis. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. It was fantastic. It is in the heart of my search, beyond science, I could say, especially the last talk. Regarding Klaus' question, both, in my opinion, were aware of mathematical ideas in their own time, in a way, but Novalis had more practical scientific exposure, while Hesse used mathematical structures metaphorically to explore holistic knowledge. Both try to approach knowledge holistically. But I would like to mention here that Novalis, George Philipp Friedrich von Heidelberg, that for him there is evidence also, and that is important, that he was associated with Freemasonry circles. Though not much in concretely documented, but his mystical and esoteric interests, along with his romantic circle, overlapped with Masonic and other secret society ideas at that time. Some scholars suggest that he was influenced by Rosicrucians and Masonic symbolism, which aligns with his fascination with mysticism, symbolism, and the quest for spiritual knowledge. On the other hand, Hermann Hesse was aware of Novalis and the broader German Romantic tradition. And Hesse read widely in German literature and philosophy, and Novalis was a center figure in Romantic thought. Indeed, he was also documented a Freemason. Why I say that? Because he joined the lodge in early 20th century. His interest was in spirituality, Eastern philosophy, and symbolism, often mirrors, we know, Masonic ideals of personal transformation, self-knowledge, and enlightenment. So, while Hesse was a confirmed Freemason and Novalis' connection is less formal and more speculative, I would say, based on his mystical and esoteric leanings rather than clear lodge membership. So the Masonic and mystical influence in their writings, both of them, showing how Freemasonry ideas in their time, 18th century, and later for Hesse, might appear in their poetry and novels. And indeed has appeared. So this is a pretty fascinating because it reveals hidden layers of in both authors' works. Both Novalis and Hesse, they share, as we noticed, and I have read quite a lot about those two, the deeply holistic approach to inner exploration, though their context and styles differ, as this David, has already described.
Yeah, thank you, Ioannis. We have to continue.
However, both authors treat life as a progressive journey towards illumination. This is the word I would like to express, where the light, for both of them, symbolizes spiritual knowledge, inner harmony, and transcendence. So this aligns closely with the philosophical and symbolic teachings of Freemasonry, even if Novalis' connection is more mystical than Hesse's, which is more experiential. Thank you.
Thank you, Ioannis. And it was a question, so you would like to react, David?
No, I just wanted to add that Novalis is also very much influenced by Plotinus, by the late antique great Alexandrian philosopher. So there's also this beautiful connection. I think, albeit, of course, Novalis died very young, so he didn't have much time to deepen this connection. But I think it's important that we have this connection into these even late antique traditions and inspirations for the age of AI, right, at hand. So it's a fascinating topic, and thank you very much. I agree to what you say, and I think maybe Masonry has been also influenced by Novalis.
Very much.
A lot. So that's surely also an element to consider. Yes.
Thank you very much. And now the next, Bostian,
yes,
please.
It's me.
You are the next
Thank
one.
you very much. Thank you very much. First, I would like to say that I agree with Ioannis concerning Rosicrucian movement and Novalis, because I worked with Novalis for my book that has been just published in London, War in the Name of Peace. And so I have much respect for Novalis because he's such a perfect mind. And especially for his work, Christianity and Europe. It's an extraordinary melting pot reflecting the aesthetic and moral and ideological issues of his time. And he was trying to get back to the Middle Ages to restore the unity of European spirit. So we are now trying to find certain unity, and we are in the way that the official language, lingua franca, is becoming English. It's more and more English is imposing, like it was Latin in the Middle Ages. So that's a certain European unity throughout the faith, what Novalis proposed in Christianity and Europe, which is a book that should be read by European politicians. But there's another question. So Christianity, what's Christianity? Christianity is always something that prevent a man from, or the save or keep away a man from this great temptation that comes from the Garden of Eden, that's to be like a god, to be a god. The history of a human being is to replace God. And now all the time trying to do it. Now we are, as far as I think, we are eclipsed in a way by something that could not be foreseen. That's artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is taking the place of a human being. And perhaps that would be, how to say, a challenge to see Novalis in this perspective, to find a certain spiritual unity and to find such a spiritual unity of Europe. We are lacking a unity, perhaps through artificial intelligence. That's just a proposal.
Thank you very much, Bastian. And now the next one I wrote. It's somebody who would like to answer to.
Yeah.
Oh, David. Okay.
Yeah, just quickly, I just wanted to also re-comment what Bastian said. I think it's wonderful. And because I'm doing a lot of research in between Christian or Platonic and so-called Western philosophy and Chinese traditions, I found it amazing that Novalis didn't have, so as far as I know, he didn't have any idea about Chinese thought, but there are actually a lot of touch points, as there are with other thinkers, of course, but also in this case, there are a lot of also possible bridges and touch points to be developed. So it's not just about European unity, but we could also, against the background of the plurality of world civilizations and their philosophical roots, we could also gain entrance points from the angle of Novalis. So it's a double plus, so to speak.
Thank you very much. And now the next comment will come from Martin Kowalewski. You know,
Yes.
Martin, David.
Yes, it's for David. I think it would be interesting to learn more about the games you spoke about, the way we get into this new behavior in working with all this possibility and the meta presence. How are they structures, and do they? I think they must have certain rules, according to Wittgenstein. If people play games, there are certain rules to be accepted, and what the rules are there, and where do we get them from? And maybe how they are related to language, which is also founded in rules. You know, the concept of language games, Sprachspiele, in Wittgenstein's later work.
Yeah, as I said, I'm in China at the moment. Tomorrow I will in a few hours. It's already close to 3 o'clock. Yeah, I think half past 2 in the morning. And tomorrow's conference will be about the I Ching, in English, I Ching, right? In Shandong province. And Hermann Hesse mentions the I Ching, the Book of Changes, a lot in this context. But he also refers to a music theory, right? To counterpoint. We have studied counterpoint with Violeta.
Fugue, yeah.
Fugue, yeah. And so it seems that in this vision, fuzzy vision, the presentation of Hesse, there are several ways of absorbing rules from existing cultural practices. The I Ching is highly mathematical, it's combinatorics. There are other divination systems from Africa that I read a book about some divination systems, traditional systems that have inspired Leibniz as well. So it's not just from China, the binary code, but also from Africa via the Arabs. There was another source. So there are these systems that work with coincidence, with chance, and try to interpret certain kind of outputs as meaningful chance, as meaningful coincidence. And but how the class beat game could be structured, I don't know. It should be an open system. The rules should develop.
So the people who
animate with it.
the people who are using it must learn the rules in playing the games. we are on the way, we are all in the game of our life, and this new technology would be there, and then we know new rules, new games, and we are
Maybe the
always
rules
learning.
would emerge. Maybe
Emerge.
there's an emergent fabric that would be coming into being along the process, and I assume it would also evolve and change like an organism, maybe, right? He talks about also nature as playing games, right? And the natural development. And the game has also leeway, right? That's important. With Wittgenstein, we can say, yeah, games, of course, the rules can change. They are, and some players they adjust, they change the rules a little bit, or there's some kind of leeway very often. So this is the nature of the universe, maybe in a sense of playful imagination, right? That's
Okay.
proposed by the
Thank you.
Yeah.
thinkers.
You
Okay,
have to
wonderful.
come again to Oldenburg, David.
Oh yeah, it's a little
To
bit
meet.
far, but yeah, next time.
Yeah, exactly.
Next time in
So
Germany, yeah.
I'm now very happy to invite Athanasia Prința. At the very beginning, she wrote us that she is so happy that she can communicate again with Andrew Balas. Thank you, Athanasia.
Hello. I'm a physician based at the Aristotle University in Thessaloniki. And I'm really grateful for Professor Balas because he highlighted the shortcomings to what we understand as evidence. I have a strong interest into clinical health decision making. So my question is, if you could further comment on the process that you described. We are struggling to move from the doctor-led patriarchal model of taking decisions to what we would like to have as a collaborative process of shared decision making. And this means that we assume that the doctor will have the accomplished physician will have the role of safeguarding the quality and integrity of the information that will be shared with the patient to make a decision. But you described a process that is overly relying on patient agency, practically what I consider a patient-led decision-making. And it looked to me that there are extreme demands on patient literacy on that model, and not just health literacy, mostly digital literacy, with what we described for LLMs and the hallucinations, and what we know as an extreme interest of all people to get information via these routes. Maybe the safeguarding of the quality and the integrity of information is more difficult if the patient is not into a collaborative process with the doctor.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for the question. First, thank you for what you do. I actually have been in Thessaloniki, and I really greatly respect your university. It's a wonderful university. It's a huge achievement. So thank you for taking care of patients there. Yes, you are right that patients want to have more and more involvement in care decisions. It does not necessarily make the care process simpler because the physician is becoming a kind of negotiator with the patient. And but on the other hand, when patients are more actively involved, then there is more ownership of the decisions. And also, patients can be actually useful for providing input through a better understanding of the process. You are absolutely correct that it really places a lot of demands on the educational level and ability to handle information of the patients. And that is something that is, we need to deal with that. Artificial intelligence perhaps will help at some point, but we have to be very careful. So it seems to me that with technology, there should be an opportunity for better communication. Just a kind of footnote to that drug companies currently use 5 different writers for their activities. They use one to write to the regulatory agencies, one to write to the medical scientific journals, one to write to the practicing physicians, one to write to the patients, and one to write to the general public. Now, no researcher can afford it, right? So it's an interesting how the technology might help us in communicating on all 5 channels at the same time without having that much money for all those writers.
If I can have a second question, because I think you're the right person for this question. Would you describe the evidence pyramid? And do you think we can get to a point that we have such a pyramid regarding real-world evidence? Because it's very much needed, but we are at the very beginning of obtaining credible and of high quality real-world evidence.
Yeah, absolutely correct. It seems to me that this classic pyramid, regardless of how intuitive it is less and less useful, and a more multi-dimensional, I would say hexagonal kind of approach is actually better. And you are correct. Real-world evidence is absolutely essential. And at some point, everything should perform well in the real world, not in a laboratory or Lombic trial.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now we have the word of Berry. Berry, she's also medicine. We have also chat. May I ask you if you could read the chat?
I read the chat of former
Okay.
chat. Yeah.
You, because I do not, I have a problem with the chat, but please, Berry, you have
Okay.
now.
Yeah, so first, I think I want to start with my comments on David's lecture because thank you so much. I also like Hesse, and also your lecture today also increased my knowledge on that. And I think after your lecture, I realized that probably in the future, for example, I really like the comment you mentioned about this nature artificial intelligence, right? So I think maybe in the future, like the doctors, physicians, and scientists, artists should be also, combined with the AI, so they probably could be the perfect, how to say, the carrier, right, for this nature artificial intelligence somehow. So yeah, this is my comments basically.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
May I ask you to read, if you can read in chat, because Graham Waterhouse says something, also Ioannis, because I have a problem here. I
Okay.
cannot send.
Yeah, so
Please.
I think this Graham Waterhouse asking, wondering why research be often considered an independent scientific pursuit, whether it's not be rather a state of mind in ongoing preoccupation with one's subject. For example, penicillin discovery by chance by an observation mind in daily work, not a result of dedicated research. Whether research might not be considered as an offshoot of any working scientist, medical or artist. New ideas often comes when not searched for, but by chance, as the result of other unrelated pursuit. Rarely comes though spirit of delight by Shelley. So this is from Graham. I think the question maybe is to Professor Balas. So
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's an excellent question, obviously. I have to tell you that the discovery of penicillin is actually not that simple. My understanding is that the penicillin was discovered at least 5 times. And the discoverer, Fleming, who is recognized mostly, he is recognized because he was the best in communicating the discovery. Okay, so those who publish and very actively spread the news actually get credited for that discovery. Now, the accidents and the unexpected, you are right. When people do research, curiosity-driven research, one may not know in the beginning how they will end and what results will be produced at the end. But having said that, if you look at the history of Nobel Prize winning discoveries, typically they work on a long-term problem-solving mission and that's where they bump into some interesting and important discoveries. So the hard work and the luck, they come together. I think that one of the Hollywood moguls said that the more I work, I think it was Goldwyn, yes. He said that the more I work, the luckier I get. So it's probably true for research as well.
Well, there
Thank you
is
so
a
much.
interpretation about this, why it happens at a certain time. I don't know. I have written in the chat actually, and Andrew, you will be interested to see that about
Sure.
charicity. About charicity,
Yes.
the philosophical theory of why
Yeah,
things happen
kairos,
at
yes.
certain times.
Curiosity, absolutely.
No, charicity from
Charicity.
kairos, Greek for the right of opportune moment.
Right.
It involves conscience, decisive action, choice of response, holistic perception. It's not so easy to give an answer by chance or because of a lot of work. There are several other issues involved, especially conscience in relation to the material world.
I agree.
That we go now more and more to inner things. It would take many hours to analyze this anyway. I have written some things for the attendees. They might get ideas.
May I ask you, Barry, can you read also what Ioannis wrote in the chat?
I read, okay. So I think he just read it, right? So I think this may happen. I suggest to read Charactericity, a philosophical theory of why things happen at certain times, from Kairos, Greek for the right or opportunity moment. It involves awareness. Curiosity depends on the observer's ability to notice the significance of moment. And decisive action, it often calls for choice or response, aligning with the right time idea. And third one is holistic perception. It combines institution, timing, and intuition, timing and consciousness, connecting inner awareness with outer circumstance. So, a chaotic moment is both temporary and conscious, where human awareness and opportunity interest. Discoveries can be explained by this above thoughts. So this is from Professor Letsis.
Oh, thank you. And Athanasia just wrote something. I have a technical problem. I just see something. Athanasia, may I ask you just to read what you just wrote? Please.
AI drug research and protein development is trying nowadays to practically they are attempting to overcome the concept of by chance developing something, discovering something. And this will be a very interesting era because we will continue, I believe, for some time doing things as we used to do by mature ideas that are being researched for long times, and we obtain some new ideas, and by discovering with AI-mediated ways, either drugs or new proteins or whatever.
We have also, thank you, we have also in music a very special example. At the very end of 19th century, Mussorgsky couldn't really make correct harmony studies, and he just made parallel quints. They were forbidden in the rules of Bach. And at the end of 19th century, it was a big meeting in Paris, and Debussy just listened the music of Mussorgsky, and Debussy had the idea to use the parallel fifths and parallel octaves, and it was the birth moment of the Impressionism in music, just by chance, because Mussorgsky just couldn't apply the rules. A genius like Mussorgsky. And so Debussy discovered the beauty of fifth parallel. And these fifth parallel, they were forbidden for centuries in the classical music of Abendland. So by chance. So I would like to invite you also, because now we had a very strange meeting today with technical problems, but it's a meeting full of inspiration.
Good
I'm very
discussion.
happy with this. And please, Klaus, would you like also to say something again?
Yes, it was again a great evening because this day I heard so much about artificial intelligence and AIs and the new trends. And now in the evening here in this wonderful meeting organized by you, Violeta, it was so relaxing for me to let my mind wandering through different cultures and different topics. So what came to my mind was a title of a famous movie. I think you know that movie. It was about this ingenious mathematician Nash. You know, he was
Beautiful
the
mind.
inventor of the game theory. A beautiful mind. That is the human mind, a beautiful mind. When I observe you here, you were creative from different aspects and not these stupid AI, I must say, even machine learning. And it was so relaxing and it was so nice. Thank you very much.
I thank you very much, and I would like to tell you that I'm not alone. I'm organizing together with Barry. She is here with us, with Livia Todorescu-Ciocana. She is also with us now, with Andrew Balas himself, and with Peter Hermann, who is now also in China, but he will come also. I'm very happy to have a group who we are together and we continue these meetings. We are so inspiring for us. And I hope so much that material from these meetings could become material for the initiative of Ioannis with EASA, the source of EASA, some sources of EASA. Thank you so
you.
much.
Thank you so much.